Okay, thank you. So you may start now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Let me get closer to me. Okay. Good afternoon. Selamat siang.
Selamat siang.
So, actually, I got confused with the time zone. Geographically way ahead of us, but time-wise you are behind us. So you have a multiple time zone from GMT +6 to +8.
Yes.
So it's very unfortunate that we couldn't be there for this round. We were really looking forward to it. And due to, what do you call this, COVID-19. Number one is the safety concern. Number two is the mess with the flights themselves.
Yeah.
So the reason I would have been there, but unfortunately, the flight from Surabaya to Penang was cancelled. And the best flight they could get, me and Dr. Shankar, was Surabaya, Jakarta, Jakarta, KL, KL, Penang. And it's going to take almost 18 hours. And I'm supposed to fly to Philippines, Quezon City the following morning. So I said, that's not going to be possible. So please cancel the trip because it's too long. After we canceled, then the Philippines training was canceled. So I'm not going for both. So look forward to visit in the future. We had a very fruitful training in Bali last year, I think. So Pa Abbas was a fantastic host. We really loved our time there, right? Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. So anyway, so I have planned 2 sessions, an intro today and a hands-on tomorrow. So I think being remote hands-on is going to be difficult. So I will try to do some hands-on, but I think it's mostly going to be discussion. So we have 3 hours. I don't know how much time that will take, maybe 1.5 hours or so. So we need to plan according to, play by ear, because I've never done much hands-on remotely. It's rather painful. Most hands-on require me to run, to go and assist you on your computer, get things running, and so on and so forth. It's not possible doing it remotely. So let's try tomorrow morning. Maybe we can start at 10 o'clock, is it tomorrow?
Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, cool. So that's what I like about bus. Okay, so I will share the slide. You don't have to look at me. I'm not that pretty anyway. Let me share the screen.
Look very big.
Okay, can you see the screen, the slides?
So,
okay, cool. So a little bit about me. My name is Selvakumar Manickam. I'm an Indian by heritage, but I'm a Malaysian. So what that means is that my forefathers came to Malaysia. Basically, I'm 5th generation in Malaysia, so I'm very much a Malaysian. I like Malay Indonesian food more than I like Indian food, right? So whenever I'm in Indonesia, I really love the food over there. And we have Indonesian restaurants, not that great, but anyway. So I'm formerly from the industry. I was with TEIN Cooperation for 8 years. I got tired of routine work and decided to pursue my PhD and join academia. So, but nevertheless, I still work with industry a lot. I still work with Intel. I still work with Western Digital, Hewlett Packard. With the advent of Industry 4.0, connected factories fast becoming a requirement. So I also work with industry, although I'm in academia. I've graduated about 12 PhDs, published more than 160 articles. These are academic requirements, so do as much as I can. And my core area of interest is cybersecurity. What I'm working on now, the projects I'm working on now are on malware, IoT security. I'm looking at cloud security. These are some of the areas I'm looking at. I'm also looking at some related areas, but not really security, like internet governance, fake news issues, and so on and so forth. So that's where I am now. And I'm a member of this project, hence my contribution is to provide the workshop. I'll be member of the workshop and contribute to the technical aspect of detecting malware and bot communication over the internet from the partner collaborators, especially MyREN, IDREN, BDREN, and Preginet. So that's what we are looking at, capturing the traffic, looking for patterns, behaviors of bot or malware communication patterns. So, so basically I'm going to introduce what malware history, what botnet, and so on and so forth. I tend to talk a lot, tend to talk long. So yeah, I'm still on slide 1. I have pretty much used up 10 minutes. So in some slides, I'm going to just rush through. So please bear with me. Right. Before we go into this topic, everybody know what malware is, right? What does malware stand for? If I'm there, I'll be walking towards you and ask you straight to your face, what is malware? I couldn't do that today. Okay, so malware, there's not going to be much questions today, so lucky for all of you. So malware is basically stands for malicious software, right? So piece of code, piece of software that is malicious, that causes some form of damage, economic, technical, or whatever. Botnet is network of bots. Bots are basically malware that is controlled remotely, right? By a bot master, by a bot header, and so on and so forth. So bot is a type of malware. Okay. So what you're looking at is basically the internet back in 1977. What used to be called ARPANET, Advanced Research Project Agency Network. If you can see, there's only a few entities like UCLA, like MIT, like Xerox, and so on. There's about 10 organizations with less than 100 hosts. And this is what internet looked like back in 1977, right? Nobody at that time thought that what is called internet, ARPANET, could evolve to something like this in the next 40 years. Internet is now become a globally always on network. The population of the world is about 7.6, 7.7 billion. If I ask this question, how many of members of, what's the percentage of the population that have access to the internet? 4 years ago, it was 2 billion. 2 years ago, it was 3 billion. Now, it is almost 6 billion, right? More and more people are getting connected. I'm not sure if the cats and other pets are getting connected, but no, there are more entities getting connected to the internet, not just people. Everyday objects, air conditioners, refrigerators are now getting connected to the internet. All of us carry a phone with us, right? How much time do you spend online a day? 2 hours? 3 hours? Malaysian average is about 5 hours a day. We are one of the highest in the world. How about Indonesia? How much time now? What is the average daily usage of the internet? Any idea?
Well, you can take a look at the mobile phone activity sometimes. social media is
Yeah.
then
How many hours?
more than 5 years.
More than 5. Oh, you're higher than us.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we are pretty much aligned. I think Malaysia also has one of the highest, I think if not the highest, one of the highest Facebook users in Asia. I think Indonesia is pretty similar to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so internet has become very, very important for everything that we do today. We do transactions online, we buy stuff online, we play games online, we socialize online. I actually asked one of my students that I teach, what happens if Facebook decides to shut down? Say, sir, I would lose my social life, right? Because that's where I socialize, that's where I meet people, that's where I hang out. They say, what do you hang out on Facebook? That you need help. But fact is, that's what's happening, right? Even people fight on Facebook now. You know, they don't fight in person, they fight on Facebook. So looking at that, my friend suggested maybe we should come up with something called Fight Book, where you bring up your argument, bring up your issues, you fight online, and we become moderators and see who's right or wrong. Sounded like a good idea, but we never followed through. So internet is very, very important. Internet has become as important as electricity, as water supply, as telecommunication, and so on and so forth. Because of that, it has also become a good source or good target or fantastic target for the cyber criminals, right? It is a very lucrative platform, environment to take advantage of. What is cybercrime? There's two parts to it. One, using the internet to commit a crime, right? This is specific to technology, unique to technology like identity theft, hacking, malware, botnet, etc. Cybercrime can also mean facilitation of traditional crime using the internet, stalking. You know, before the era of the internet, when you want to stalk someone, what do? You follow the person behind, you know, in your car, wait, see where the person drives, follow the person, and then when the person reaches home, you park outside and you'll be looking at what this person is doing in the house. In extreme cases, you would go through their garbage, right? Look at their letters, bills. You start to build profile. I like this girl, right? So what do I need to do? Go through her garbage. You see a lot of banana skips. Oh, she likes banana, right? So her favorite fruit is banana. I see that she has bought a lot of handbags. Oh, she likes handbags. So you start stalking. That's how you used to stalk pre-internet. Now what do? You follow the person on Facebook. You follow the person on Twitter, on Instagram. See what pictures they post, right? Then you will basically be able to identify, understand, and build an image, build a profile of that person. It's much easier now, right? Stealing information, pornography, human trafficking, which used to be done traditionally, is now easily done online, right? So we're just going to focus on the malware and botnet aspect of cybercrime. Why do you think this people or the cases of cybercrime is getting more and more attention? Why is it getting more popular? In Malaysia, we are actually working with the police force because, you know, police force are accustomed to traditional crime. But when it comes to cybercrime, they have no idea what to do. They have no skills, right? So, but the problem is the number of reports they get, the number of cybercrime exceeds the number of traditional crime. That means the ratio of cybercrime and the ratio of traditional crime is getting lopsided towards cybercrime. So, why do you think cybercrime is getting more attention? Very simple. Appeal. Now you don't have to walk into the house to steal something. You can do the theft from anywhere in the world. The internet encourages anonymity and its distributed nature. The internet is so abstract, it's so complex, it's very difficult to trace anyone anymore. How many of you use the Tor network? Have you heard of Tor network before? Okay, there's few of you. Tor network, what is Tor network? Let me try to go to the website. Share the screen. Tor network is a peer-to-peer overlay network which allows you to browse anonymously, privately. It's a network that is managed by, how should I say, volunteers. You can actually download, you can download the browser, you can block trackers, you can defend against surveillance, resist fingerprinting, multi-layer encryption. You can do pretty much whatever you want. So you can basically use this browser or use the proxy. And if you're going to do anything malicious or anything that is naughty, you can basically use this and hide your tracks. There is no way the authority can track back to because if you use your normal browser, your typical browser, your ISP has a record from which IP this came from. But if you use Tor browser, it connects to some point which is hosted by the volunteer. It could be in China, could be India, could be Indonesia, could be Russia, could be anywhere. Every time you connect, it connects to a different point. So if anybody wants to trace back to you, it is almost impossible. Not to say very, very difficult, not to say impossible, very, very difficult. So you can hide yourself with this browser. So if I want to carry out a crime, would I use, by the way, disclaimer, please don't use the knowledge shared today for anything malicious and point to the speakers and the organizers, right? If you get into trouble, it's your problem, okay? All right. So with so many tools as such, where you can hide yourself, you can, be anonymous online, it's easy for you to carry out cyber crimes. All right, let me just stop share, go back to the slide. Okay, so there's many other things you can do to be anonymous, to be hidden and so on. And furthermore, many countries have very few laws addressing cybercrime. Right, some of this classical, I love bug virus, VB script, and where it came from the Philippines. If somebody committed a crime in Indonesia from Malaysia, so from Malaysia, I have committed a crime online in Indonesia. Which law do we use? Indonesian law or Malaysian law? Don't know. Can't hear you, Pak.
Repeat again the question, perhaps.
If someone committed a crime from Malaysia over the internet, and the crime is committed in Indonesia, in Indonesian servers, Indonesian service providers, which law do we use? Malaysian law or Indonesian law?
Mostly Indonesian.
Indonesia? How do you prosecute the person?
It's difficult.
Yes. So the problem is that every country have its own law design, and
Yeah.
every country does not cross boundary. Indonesian law is not applicable in Malaysia. Malaysia not applicable in Indonesia, and there is no law framework that is at least regional. There is no Southeast Asian cyber law framework. Right? They are talking about it, but nothing has been executed because it's difficult to exchange data or apply laws across the boundary. Right? You want to say something?
I agree.
Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, internet is the biggest or the largest business, largest economy in the world. You can put the whole world's economy together, and internet economy is much, much bigger than that, few $1 trillion worth, especially, right? On the internet, nobody knows you're a cat. Right? You can be anybody. You can pretend to be anybody. It's so easy. I think we have done that before. We have pretended to be someone else. You don't want to be known, right? Even worse, 60-year-old guy pretending to be 12-year-old girl. Those are terrible, terrible things, how internet is facilitating such crimes, right? So this has led to, how should I say, the number of cybercrime to continuously, exponentially grow. And there is no solution in sight. There is always new security issues, new crimes, new privacy, data breaches. There's always something new cropping up, and it's growing. It's not reducing, right? So one of them is the growth in malware, right? So let's talk about malware a bit more. So the earliest, so this is the earliest of malware. Creeper was an experiment back in 71. This was not actually a virus or malware. They just wanted to see how a program can move from one computer to another. How does it, what do you call this, replicate itself, make a copy and install it into another computer. The whole idea was to do mass installation, but it behaved like a virus. So this is the first experience anyone or the sign that this could lead something more malicious. Then 74, Wabbit. Wabbit makes many copies itself into computers until the computer becomes slowed down. So many copies of that virus is running on the computer, right? You just keep clicking, keep launching the same application until the system becomes slow. So they call it Wabbit because it replicates or reproduces like a rabbit would. Rabbit reproduces very fast. Alclona is also one of the widespread self-replicating virus to affect PCs. We are talking about during the era of floppy disks. How many of you have seen a 5/4-inch floppy disk? 5¼ inch floppy disk. Abbas should have seen it.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
I don't ask people's age anymore. I'll say, have you seen a 5/4-inch floppy disk? Yes. So you must be old. If you want to check whether you're older, I will ask, have you seen an 8-inch floppy disk?
No. Not my generation.
I have seen 8-inch, but never, it was towards the end of that era.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask if anybody have seen punch card. Probably they're all dead.
No.
Right? So this is how virus used to spread, by sharing floppy disks. I think a few of us, like Pabas, myself, PCs back in the 80s had, huge sized system unit, but the main memory is only about 640K. That's it. Right? We are talking about gigabytes of memory nowadays. We only had 640K. And the floppy disk is 360K kilobyte. And there used to be 2 floppy disk drives where I put my friend's disk who has a game and put my disk empty one, and we make a copy. Copy A to B. That's how it used to be. That's how virus used to spread. My first experience with virus was brain boot sector virus, 1986, 87. It doesn't do anything. It infects your computer, your operating system. Those days, operating system was known as MS-DOS, Microsoft Disk Operating System. When you type CMD in your Windows, you know, that black console that comes up, that's the operating system we had. No mouse, no GUI, no nothing. We have to memorize all the commands, right? I want to see the content of my hard drive. How? dir. Right? If I want to copy a file, copy X copy file 1 to file 2, right? It was painful time. So brain boot sector virus basically was a message called Danzuko, and then it just continues booting into your operating system. It did nothing. It just showed an image, and that's it. But the thing is that the writer of that virus was a Pakistani student, 13 years old. Imagine 1986, kids can write virus. But I notice kids nowadays cannot even write a code, right? They're too busy with their phone, too busy playing PUBG, right? I'm trying to resist. I have 2 sons. They said, Dad, PUBG. I say, talk about it, I'll kill you. PUBG culture here, right? So that was my first experience. Then PC Write Trojan and Morris Worm, Michelangelo. Michelangelo was another famous virus, I think, back in the 90s. Michelangelo, not the Ninja Turtle, is the artist from the 15th century or 16th century, from the Renaissance time. Michelangelo virus is also called time bomb. The reason is the Michelangelo virus will infect your computer, the operating system. I think at that time it was Windows 95. And it only activates on March 6th. March 6th being the birthday of Michelangelo. If you switch on your computer on March 5th, you're fine. If you switch on your computer on March 7th, you're fine. If you switch on your computer on March 6th, all your Microsoft Office documents will become 0 bytes. You will nullify all Office files, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and so on and so forth, right? This used to be a major news during in the newspaper. There was no social media, newspaper. The main, what do you call this? The headline, the main news is, please do not switch on your computer on 6th of March. Please go out, right? So if you're on March 6th, don't switch on March 5th. If you don't switch on March 6th, you're safe. Until next year, March 6th, right? So the following year, they announced the same thing. Please do not switch on your computer on March 6th, right? So that was also a popular virus. And Melissa virus also popular. Those days, the only email client was Outlook. And Melissa virus basically infects. Outlook is actually a playground for malwares because Outlook likes VB macros, right? Once you are infected with Melissa virus, it will inject VB macro into your Outlook client, and this macro will mass email itself to all the email addresses that you have in your address book. And it will infect others, and it will just keep on going on like that in a chain reaction manner. So that's how the earliest looked like. Then in the millennium, year 2000 and beyond, to the last millennium, last decade. No, we already in a new decade, okay, the decade before. Year 2000, I Love You World cost $5.5 billion in damage. It's an email virus, and it's called I love you because the subject says I love you. Why they call it I love you? Why the subject should be I love you? Imagine, you know, especially guys, you receive an email and the email subject says I love you. What would you do? Siapa ni?
I love you too.
I love you too. I want to say it. Siapa cintaku? Right? Curious. So what would you do is you want to open up, open the email and open the attachment. Right? And the moment you open the attachment, it was still an Outlook error. It infects the machine, right? And it will basically spread itself just like Melissa virus would do, right? And it actually caused a slowdown of machines and drop to productivity of companies and so on, causing $5.5 billion in damage, right? So be careful. 2001, very similar tactic, Anaconikowa virus. I think we all coming from that era who know who Anaconikowa is, famous female tennis player, very pretty, right? So the email says, I have some pictures of Anaconikowa. Pictures. So what do?
Open.
We delete the email. No. No, I deleted the email. I don't know about the rest. You would basically open and check out what's in that attachment. Once again, just like I love you, you are tricked to propagate the virus by opening the attachment. Then you have slammer worm. Slammer worm infects SQL servers and can spread like COVID-19 and infect 75K computers in just 10 minutes. Then you have Cabber virus, then Coopface. Coopface is actually an anagram for Facebook. This virus takes advantage of Facebook platform and propagates to social media sites. Configure is short for configure and figure. It, what do you call this? It causes similar damage like Slammer, but much more prevalent. Okay. And more recently, state-sponsored, sophisticated, profitable, the era of Botnet, right? 2010, Stuxnet. Stuxnet worm basically infected nuclear warhead in Iran. That's how bad the design of the nuclear head was. Again, we had no access to how and what was used to build their warhead. But the thing is that potentially it could have been used to launch nuclear missiles from Iran. But eventually it was removed. So hopefully there's no such things still happening out there. Zeus Trojan was a botnet, one of the first bot malwares. CryptoLocker is ransomware. Backoff infected point of sales machines. Most of the point of sales machines were on Windows XP, and we all know that XP is a playground for hackers, very easily penetrated. Then malware were used to steal credit card data from point of sale systems, Cerber, and of course, more recently, WannaCry ransomware. There's a lot of cases involving WannaCry that is not, how should I say, exposed or shared with public. One insider story I know is that one of well-known company in Penang. Penang is actually Silicon Valley, where a lot of multinationals are. One of those companies, they have decided to provide laptops for supervisors. So the supervisors are those who manage operators in production and all. So this person took the laptop home, you're allowed to bring home, and gave it to the children to play. So the children played, went online, don't know where they went, don't know what they did. So the next day she comes to office, connects to the corporate network, and a couple of hours later, and this company is Windows friendly, right? All their servers are on Windows. A couple of hours later, all the servers, all the files were locked with pop-ups of WannaCry ransom. Production stopped because they cannot push data, instructions, recipes to the production floor because all the servers are locked. All the files are locked. There's no way for you to open. So they had to pay a ransom of $20 million to get access back to all their files, right? And this is very big, but it's not talked about. I'm sure there are many other cases where such incidents has happened. And now we have moved to the era of IoT bots. One of the more popular one is Mirai Botnet. These botnets or these malwares infected CCTV cameras and carried out one of the largest DDoS attack in history. This was a few years back. And you know, they made a lot of money. The thing with cyber criminals is that they are not long-term. They will carry out attacks, crimes, and so on for a short period, 6 months, 1 year. They become millionaires, billionaires, and they retire, right? What do when they retire? They will take whatever source codes that they have to build their malware botnet framework and so on. They make it open source, right? They say, guys, I'm done making money. Here you go, take it. The next person who wants to become a millionaire, billionaire, take this, modify it, make it better, and make your money, right? So Mirai Botnet's source code is out there in the open. It's open sourced. So anybody wants to become millionaire or billionaire fast, please go check it out. I think Dr. Shankar will be doing a demo on this bot tomorrow. So that's interesting. So please take a look at it. What does this chart show? Any idea? This chart shows the growth of malware over the years. What do you see? The COVID-19 infection rate now, right? But not that. This shows that, you know, despite of all the defensive tools, mechanisms, and softwares and apps, right? With firewalls, with anti-malwares that can look beyond signature, understand behaviors. And why do we have the M means million over there? So in 2020, 10 was 47 plus million, and 2019 is of almost 1 billion infected machines. Why? Why, despite with all the technologies and tools and so on and so forth, why is the number of infected machines out there continues to grow in an exponential manner? This is just last year, every month. Every month, so many number of machines infected. Why? Because of curiosity, because of courtesy, because of gullibility, greed, thoughtlessness, shyness, apathy, because of social engineering attacks. Because if I cannot break into the system, if I cannot hack into the system to put my malware, what should I do? What can I do? I hack the dumbest element of the system. And what is the dumbest element of the system? Us, the user. right? Okay, let's be honest. Have you ever been to an illegal site before to download cracks? Do you use torrent?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. But put a disclaimer. Yes, I do it for research. Right? Don't say yes. You may get into trouble. Yes, for research purpose. I go to torrent because I need to do research. I go to illegal site because I need to do research. My research background is cybersecurity. I have to go. Right? But we all know. Okay, so you download this stuff and you want to install, let's say, this particular program. What your malware will say? Hey, this looks like a malware, whereas don't. So what do? You disable your anti-malware. That's what you do, right? First thing it says, are you sure you want to install it? Looks like a malware. You say, yes, get lost. You go sit at the side. It comes, hey, it looks like a malware. No, man, I cannot do this. You cannot install. I'm going to remove this. Then what do? This anti-malware is too much of a problem. I'm going to disable it. Install. We all do that, right? Because of the element called greed. Kita tidak ingin membayar. Right? If I can get it for free, why not? Okay? So, but we fail to see that, nothing is free in this world. Everything has its implication, right? If it's free, that means there is malware with it. Even when you download Microsoft Office for research purpose and you install, do you think it's installing Microsoft Office? No, it is actually installing a malware in the background. I make you happy. I install Microsoft Office for you. I make myself happy. I mean, the malware writer. I install my malware in the background, but you don't see it happening, right? So, for example, another one, gullibility. The number of scam calls. Somebody calls you, hey, I'm from the police force, or you immediately have a fear. An email comes and said, you have a court case, you must click on this, you must enter your information and so on. You comply. Because we are naturally gullible. You receive an email from your bank. Please click on this link to update your user ID and password. What do? You click on it, you key in your user ID password, then the site says, thank you very much, I got your information. Okay, I'm more secure now. My information is more private now, right? So the number of malware continues to grow because mostly due to social engineering, plus some hacking or taking advantage of vulnerability. We call it the 7 deadly social engineering vices. Why do we become a victim of social engineering? Talking about social engineering is another large topic, which I'm not going to go into now. The essence of social engineering, as we talked about, the bad guys always follow the path of least resistance and most profit, which is the user, right? And also, more and more people can become hackers nowadays. You don't have to be a coder anymore. You don't have to be technically sound. You don't have to. That is like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Now, you can even go to YouTube and say, how to write a malware, step-by-step instruction for newbies, right? They even have packages where it's a GUI. Customize your malware. Key in, you click in, IP address, blah, 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 and so on. It will generate a malware specific for your needs, right? Now, anybody can become a cyber criminal. Tools are out there. You can become a member of hacker forums. Some of it is on the dark web, where you have to be invited to be part of it. part of the forum, some are open, where these people, if they see that you're interested, they will actually mentor, they will actually guide, educate, teach, provide sources for you to become a cyber criminal or a hacker or a malware writer and so on, right? So that's why for these two reasons, one, social engineering, two, more hackers are out there than before, right? The chances that they are able to find vulnerability much faster than the defensive guys like us, the researchers, is very, very high. The white hat, or I would say us, the ethical hackers or the good guys, are always 2-3 steps behind the bad guys. The bad guys are always finding flaws, breaking in, taking advantage, bringing things down, and so on. We are just patching or fixing whatever they have found. We have not been able to completely preempt vulnerabilities and attacks from malwares and so on and so forth. We are always behind. Until today, we are always behind. That's why in countries like US and all that, if they catch you for hacking into major systems, they don't send you to jail. They give you a job, right? They give you a job because you can, who knows the bad guys better than the bad guy themselves? So make the bad guy the good guy. Pay him a lot of money, make him happy, right? But in Malaysia, in countries like Malaysia, if you hack, you go to jail. We are very strict. Some of types of malware out there, like spyware, right? It's a common type of malware which monitors activities, right? Do you think you have, how would you know that whether there's spyware on your computer or not? Right? Because most of us ignore that we have anti-malware and we allow malwares to come into our machine because, we want free stuff, we were tricked into and so on, right? So spyware basically steals information and sends it to a central server where somebody is looking at it and may sell it to someone else. Trojan horse is another type of malware which appears to be a legitimate file, but it provides a backdoor, right? Most malware nowadays are kind of Trojan, right? They provide a backdoor to the machine and you can basically gain access to resources and so on and so forth on the infected machine. Virus, this is another term that used to be very popular. It's still popular, right? Because of COVID-19, it's much more popular. You can enter a PC using infected USB disk, infected hard drive, downloading software and so on. So virus is more of a general term. Worm is something that comes through your email, through websites. It infects your computer, then starts sending out garbage to the network and bringing the network to a halt. So it floods the network. It's what we call something like a DOS attack, right? Not DDoS, DOS attack, which it floods your network and bring the network to a standstill. Scareware, as the name says, it is used to scare you to do something. Have you ever seen out of nowhere an antivirus dialog window will pop up? It looks very professional, looks real. It pops up and says, I've just scanned your computer and I found like 50 malwares, 50 virus, 50 Trojans. And what do? It says, click here in order for us to remove quarantine and remove the virus. What would you do? You would click it. You never think that, hey, did I install this antivirus? I can't remember installing this antivirus. Who's this guy? But he says there's virus in my computer. I better comply. So you will just click fix, clean it or whatever, giving the malware full access, administrative access to your computer, right? There's probably no 50 virus on your computer. It just shows you the fake list of viruses and says there is virus on your computer. Scares you. Once you're scared, you will do whatever the malware says. And after that, it is the master of your computer, right? It takes over. Adware targets internet users, showing them different, it's supposed to be different ads, right? In general, no personal data is stolen, but it can slow down your PC to a great extent. How many of you use AdBlock Plus? Nobody uses AdBlock Plus. I think we'll discuss this tomorrow, right? It's basically, if you go to illegal sites, I want to watch this particular program. What's popular now? I'm following Picard. It's not available on Netflix or Disney. So I had to go to illegal site to watch it for research purpose. When I go there, there's all kinds of windows start popping up. You want to watch the program, you must watch this ad, you must watch this ad, you must watch this video, you must visit this, fill in the survey, and so on and so forth, right? And what do you call this? All these pop-ups will basically interrupt your daily activity. In some cases, it will also infect your Chrome. In some of you got infected, you will see there are all kinds of notifications coming about Candy Crush, about COVID-19, medicine for COVID-19, all kinds of notifications that you never subscribe to will start popping up, right? So these are malwares that push ads, basically. Ransomware, we all know, takes you, holds you for ransom, pay money, or else you lose your files, right? I hope none of you have to go through this. It was a very painful experience for those who got infected. And of course, bot special software programs created to automatically perform specific operations. Right, so now the trend is most of the malwares have bot behavior, right? Bot is basically allows the bot master to make tons of money, right? It's actually a very big business that they do nowadays. What time do I watch? So time 4:45. Okay, another 15 minutes I'll be done. Can go for tea break. So botnets are basically infected computers all over the world that is controlled by a bot master sitting somewhere and sending instructions to this infected computers. So computers are infected with malware. This malware will basically try to get instruction from the bot master. Evolution of botnets. Motivation, change in computer hacking, like what I said just now. Those days used to be vandalism, to cause damage, and now it is about making money, right? So malware have evolved from virus to bot. Almost $100 billion losses in 2018. I won't go into this. The value that you see over here is that, a simple details such as social security number, your date of birth, residential address. One piece of information could cost $3 in the black market. One person. If I can get information about 1,000 person, it's $3,000. Right? Sale of personal information on just 50 credit or debit cards can generate earnings between $250K to $1 million. Right? There are buyers that's willing to pay big money to get your personal information. Not just online, even offline. If you go to the mall, people say, we are doing a sale, please fill in your phone number. We'll put you into lucky draw. You can probably win a house. What do? You give everything about yourself, right? How many wives you have, how many cars you have, and so on. Everything you give, because it's a chance for me to win a big house, right? So they do. You probably were not going to win offline or online, but this information can be sold for big money. And malware is a botnet is a very easy way to scrape this kind of data from your computer. Not just you, people you talk to, people you email to, people that you chat to, all this can be stolen. $1.5 trillion revenues from cybercrime. 1.5 trillion, right? It's that big. and most of it is done using botnets. So botnet architecture, you have bot master that writes malware and uses social engineering to propagate the malware. You know, writing the malware is not the difficult part. The difficult part is how do I get it out there? How do I infect people with my malware? That's the most challenging part. And social engineering is a field of study by itself. Right? If you're good at social engineering, you can pretty much infect thousands or hundreds of thousands of computers out there. Then the bot master will deploy, propagate the bot, and this bot will now start infecting other computers from the computer infected and creating a chain reaction. Right? Let me show this. This is yesterday's, or is it today's news? I think this is today's news. Can you see the website? Microsoft disrupts a botnet that infected 9 million computers. And it took them, they had to work with organizations from 35 countries, right, to disrupt a botnet behind the largest cybercrime network. The botnet known as Sneakers has infected estimated 9 million computers. This is mostly where you get your spams from, right? Generating as many as 3 billion spam emails in just 2 months, right? So will you stop getting spams? No, you'll still continue getting spam because this is not the only botnet that is out there. There are many botnets out there. This is one of the network that has been brought down, right? And it's not like it's new. If you look at this, they started observing in 2012. Sneakers was observed since 2012, and it was actually used to distribute or propagate other botnets like Zeus, right? And which they brought down in 2014. But this Sneakers virus has been around for the past 8 years. Took them 8 years to bring out this network of bots, right? It is likely involved in stock scam, fake pharmaceutical spam, Russian dating. Most of them mostly come from Russia or China, right? So it's a never-ending battle. That happened. Let me share the slides again. So taxonomy, how it attacks the CNC model. The behavior, how botnet propagate is first it infects new hosts using social engineering mostly, right? Then it steals personal information. It carries a phishing attack. It becomes a spam proxy. It carries out DDoS attack. More recently, what do you call this? They got tired of all this. Now they are into something else called Bitcoin mining. They don't carry out attacks anymore. They infect you with the malware. And these malwares are basically crypto miners. When you are not using the machine, the malware will basically start using your CPU resources to mine and push the profit to the bot master's wallet, right? All the machines throughout the world infected with this malware doing mining for you. Imagine the amount of money you'll be making and nobody can catch you, right? Nobody knows whose wallet is this because cryptocurrency are distributed in nature. There's no way for you to track. So the current trend is to use bots to run crypto mining, right? So as part of our research, we actually have a malware testbed. We have machines that are exposed to the internet, demilitarized, meaning that anybody can access the machine. We leave all the ports open, make it as vulnerable as possible. So we get this kind of malwares come into the systems on Linux, on Windows. I will talk about that tomorrow. And then we will basically capture the malware and deploy it in our testbed and study its behavior. How does it talk? How does it communicate? What form of what do you call this activities it carries out, and so on and so forth. CNC is the central. If you have web servers all around the world, what the bot master will do is that it will try to infiltrate poorly configured web servers, especially those running on Apache servers or web servers. If they are not properly hardened, you know, when we build a web application, many of us like to do chmod 777. I think some of you understand what that is. chmod 777 means the first 7 means I give full access to the owner. Second 7 means I give full access to the group that I belong to. The last 7 says I give full access to the whole world, right? So when you build web applications, many times I've noticed that developers like to, you know, when you need to upload files, photos, images, and all that, you need to control certain files are not allowed. So you find it's very difficult. Let's make life easy. chmod 777. You can upload whatever you want, right? So the bot master will basically trace or track for websites or web servers that have this kind of vulnerabilities. And then the person or the bot master will inject his own code into the compromised web servers. So now he knows the IP address of the web server. When he writes the malware, he'll put the IP address of the infected web server and infect. So all these infected machines with the malware will now talk to this web server. They'll say, do you have any command for me? Do you have any instruction for me? They will keep polling. The bots will keep polling the web server. The web server won't talk to the bot. The bot will talk to the web server. So they will basically poll the web server. The bot master will basically push if there's any instruction, do a DDoS attack on this website, to the web server, right? So if there's any instruction, the bots will look into the web server or instruction. Then I will go and proceed, carry out the instruction. The reason the bot master did this is that if anybody were able to trace that the bot is talking to a server, where they'll go to, they'll be able to track only the web server. They won't be able to track who's the actual owner, the bot master. I won't be able to track the person. I need to put more effort. But if I trace from the infected machine, it only goes to the infected web server. Whose is this? I don't know. It could be some sales website who didn't know it's infected, right? So there's no way for you to track. But if I put more effort, there is always a way to track from the web server to the bot master, right? Of course, since the CNC model is easy to set up, but it is also very easy to take down. If the web server goes down, all the bots become orphaned. They'll be looking for instruction forever, not knowing that the web server is dead. So easy to take down. And also, authorities can put some effort to be able to trace the bot master themselves. A more difficult, a more complex model is the P2P model. P2P model is that there is no central entity. All the peers or all the bots are kind of a mini CNC, mini server. So they give instruction. So the bot master will only pushes to one of the bots, and this bot will propagate to other bots. So for me to trace from one of the machine that is infected all the way to the board master, it is very, 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 very difficult compared to a CNC model. But the problem is it is very, very difficult to set up, very, very complicated, very, very complex, right? So there's a lot of approach over there. I think I'm running out of time. So I will share this slide with you. This is for 2 hours, I think. So there are a lot of evasion techniques you can look at, how to beat the evasion techniques and so on. I will share the slides. Right? I think I took too much of the time. It's supposed to be almost 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Is it 4 o'clock there? 4 o'clock. Okay, I will stop there. Any questions, please? If you are interested in working in this area in cybersecurity and all that, you can always contact me at this email. We can always talk about kind of research we can collaborate on. Always looking forward. Any questions?
Anyone wants to ask a question?
I know it's very close to tea break, so no questions.
No one? Keep silence? Okay. Gulam from IDB.
Hello, sir. My name is Gulam.
Good, sir.
Gulam. Is it possible to track transaction if we pay to attacker?
The question was not clear.
Is it possible if we wait if we want to track transaction we have been to pay to attacker?
Detect transaction between.
Is it possible to track transaction if we pay to attacker?
In?
If we pay,
Pay. If you pay.
Pay, or pay the attacker.
Yeah, pay to attacker.
Is it possible to track the transaction if you pay the attacker?
Yes.
Well, the payment nowadays all done through Bitcoin, so it's not possible.
Thank you.
Right. Now all transactions done by cyber criminals are all through Bitcoin transactions. Nobody does online transaction, bank transaction.
any other wants to ask?
Adding to the most preferred cryptocurrency by the criminals is XMR, Monero, type of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
Anyone wants to give comments or questions? Okay.
You can always drop me an email. We can discuss.
Yeah, one more question.
Okay.
Okay. Can you share best practice how to deal with the social engineering stuff? Because actually in our university, many staffs and students, they clicking the emails that contain malware, and they they respond to the email, they sending the ID and the password and so on, and our domain name become get blacklist on server, email server on your outside. So how to deal with this kind of behavior, the user behavior? Because one or two users did this, then entire user can get the impact. Then the best practice that how to deal with this kind of situation. Thank you.
Well, that's a problem we are grappling to deal with also. Well, the thing is that when the user, we tell them don't do it, they still go ahead and do it, right? But what we are doing in our university is that we actually have developed a cyber awareness program where we educate them on what you should not do, what you should do and should not do in situations like that. That is one. But nevertheless, even though we say don't do it, they are going to do it, right? So what we also teach is that, okay, fine, you are going to do it. This is how you should do it safely, securely. So we also have to teach them a bit of the dark knowledge. They are able to do it without impacting the rest of the services, the infrastructure that we have. So that's the only way I can see to overcome this. It's a long-term learning and teaching process.
Thank you. I think time is over. So we can continue to the next session.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye.